Thank you, Rains. Or Neil. Wonderful. Well, we'll give a second for people to arrive from various corners of the world today. Excited to have some international representation. So we'll give folks a minute. As you're arriving, I invite you to introduce yourself in the chat. You can share anything you like. I might recommend your name, where you're calling in from, and what brings you here today, what you're excited about to engage with folks here today. I also am going to add an additional invitation for this event only because today is about storytelling and connection, and it takes a lot of courage to tell a story to a group of people. If you're in a place where you can come off video, please do. If you're not, totally understand, but it's just a lot easier to tell a story to smiling faces than to white font on a black screen. So if you're able to do that, I invite you to do so. We promise we're not judging anything that's happening around you. We'd love to see you. So thank you all for being here today. I think that we will get started here. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We've got a team here happy to answer questions as they come up. So for those of you who I don't know, my name is Trish Becker. I am the Executive Director of the Cohousing Association of the US, and I'm really excited to be here. This is our 4th event in our first ever National Co-Housing Week, and it has been a wonderful success. We've hosted events all week, and then this weekend it's culminating in open house weekend. So I think we have 90 at last count, open house events nationwide. So people will be celebrating co-housing in all corners of the US and as I mentioned, even internationally as well. So we're really excited. And as I'm celebrating the success of National Co-Housing Week, I have to take a minute and ask you all to help me celebrate my co-creators, Rains Cohen and Neil Planchon. They have given their blood, sweat, and tears to this, and I'm really, really grateful for all their work. So send them all the virtual love that you can. Okay, what else? Let me tell you about Coho US. So we are a national nonprofit. Coho US is short for the Co-Housing Association of the United States. We seek to advance co-housing and do a lot of culture shifting. We envision a new paradigm where every home is surrounded by caring, collaborative neighbors who use less of the Earth's resources while living an abundant life. We do this in a number of ways. So we do a lot of education. We have events like the events that we've had all week. We also have a learning platform called the Co-Housing Institute. We have newsletters, conferences, social media, communications, all with an effort to help people understand co-housing, build co-housing, and communicate about its impacts on the world, because we believe that they are many. We also advocate for co-housing through outreach, research, and publications. We really believe that co-housing is a solution to many of the social problems that we face, so we're all about spreading that message. And then we do a lot of container building. So we know that most of the magic in co-housing happens not through us, but through you all. So we try and just create those containers for seekers to connect with other seekers, for folks to connect with professionals, experienced co-housing, and just let that magic work so that we can have more connected neighborhoods in the future. We're made up of a small but mighty staff and an extremely passionate network of volunteers, board members, communitarians that help us do what we do. So we're grateful to all of them. So as I mentioned, we are here, we're at the 4th event of National Co-Housing Week. All of our events from this week have been recorded. And so if you're here today, you will receive an email with links to all of those recordings. So if you missed something, you can catch up on that. And tonight will be recorded as well. So yeah, today we are gathering for a spotlight on what's happening in the West and Southwest regions. So we'll hear from Rains about what's happening in the East Bay area, and then I will share a little bit about the Rocky Mountain region. And then if you're still feeling hyped up after open house weekend, Neil and Rains are hosting an after party on Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific. It's going to be an open format. Folks are bringing their videos, their photos, their stories of successful open house events, so we can debrief and celebrate together. So no registration required. Just grab that Zoom link and you can hop on. It's the same Zoom link as you got here today. So we'll hope to see you there. I want to share a bit about some upcoming events with Coho US. Our next training on the Co-Housing Institute is called Affordable and Ecological Co-Housing Design. That is with Chuck Durrett, who is the co-founder of Co-Housing in the United States. So we're really excited about that. It'll be on Thursdays starting July 10th. And there hopefully is a link in the chat for that. And then also save the date for an in-person gathering in Sacramento, California. This will be on November 2nd. It's called Co-Housing and Beyond. We're going to explore co-housing as well as many types of collaborative neighborhoods. We'll have breakout sessions, plenaries, lots of networking opportunities, all designed to support people at various stages of their co-housing journey. And we will have local community tours on October 31st. So wear your costume, and November 1st as well. So registration for that will be live early this summer. So save the date for now. And then finally, if you are still curious about co-housing, if you're new to the space, even if you've been here for a while, we hope that you'll join us at the Commons. This is our monthly event designed really for the co-housing curious. So we do 30 minutes of Co-Housing 101 and then 30 minutes of just connection. And that's where my experienced co-housers come in really handy because these breakout groups are really nice places to share experiences and wisdom. So please come wherever you are on your journey. We host it on the 10th of every month at 10 a.m. Mountain. We are reliably there, and there should be a link in the chat. Thank you so much. And then on the 20th of every month, we do a similar event for senior co-housing. It's called the Senior Q&A. Again, that's the 20th of every month at 10 a.m. Mountain, and link in the chat for that. Okay, so a little bit about Coho US. Again, as I mentioned, we are really shifting culture here, and we believe that each one of you are part of that transformation, and we need you to be a part of this movement for a more connected future, a more sustainable future, and a more democratic one. So again, we are a small nonprofit with a huge vision, and we need your support to continue to grow community housing nationwide. We benefit from donations of money, time, expertise, and even a small monthly donation can make a huge impact. So there's a link in the chat, or that QR code should take you to a page where you can learn all about how you can get involved with Coho US. Okay, and finally, I'm excited to tell you about a membership discount that we are offering in celebration of National Co-Housing Week. So first, let me tell you about membership. Membership is an annual subscription program where members get access to all of our virtual programming. So that Chuck Durrett event that I talked about is just one of many, many programs that we run throughout the year, and members get free access to all of those for the entire year. They also get access to hundreds of recorded sessions. So we've recorded all of our trainings and events from years prior. So really there's a training on pretty much anything that you can imagine, from how to find land, how to market your community, how to create a CRM, how to manage your common meals, how to have more fun, manage conflict, et cetera, et cetera. We have programming for the entire life cycle of a community, and you have free access to all that. And then 25% off of our multi-week courses and our in-person conferences like that Sacramento event. So usually for an individual, 1 year of membership is $150. We're going to offer it for just $100 a year. That's less than $10 a month. So I hope that you consider signing up if you're an individual exploring co-housing. If you're part of a group of 5 or more people, then that community package is really made for you. This is all those benefits that I mentioned are extended to every single one of your members, as well as explorers, if that's something that you'd like to offer. Usually that's $750 a year. For new member communities, it's now $500 for a year. Again, you can extend that to your whole community, including explorers if you'd like. And then Community Launch is our membership program that's designed specifically for forming communities. So it includes all those benefits plus lots of advertising opportunities, because we know that launch communities' biggest focus is meeting their future neighbors. So we help you with that. Usually that's $1,000 a year. I'm sorry, usually it's $1,500 a year. Right now it's $1,000 for the year. So links are in the chat. Please note that when you click it, it shows the usual price. You have to click through and then the discount is taken off, but I promise those links work. So reach out if you have any questions or use the links to sign up for that. Okay. So I am going to happily turn it over to our regional representative, Rains Cohen, who is going to share with us what's happening in the East Bay and beyond.
Thanks, Trish. And thanks everybody. It's been fun running some of these behind the scenes, as it were, in the chat. So it's a whole different experience to be out front. But at least I've got my support system with me. My neighbor Alice is along as a co-founder of our community. And I'll be joined in a little bit by my wife, Betsy Morris, who has a little bit to say about all this uh, in our work together. Um, anyway, welcome to East Bay Co-Housing here in the San Francisco Bay Area, where you get the best views of the Golden Gate and the Bridge in San Francisco. I'm Rains Cohen. That's me with my wife, Betsy Morris, and then the picture from our porch, which you saw in the picture of the Chuck Durrett Institute workshop. That was another view of our porch from a while back. Um, in what used to be the most photographed tree in co-housing, since it was on the national brochure. Anyway, I've lived in two co-housing neighborhoods over the past quarter century. I visited over 135 in the U.S. and helped many. Uh, we kept alive a regional umbrella group from the late 90s and rented a clubhouse that you see there for East Bay co-housing to host community seekers and do education. It's one of the first co-housing groups on Meetup, now over 5,000 members just in the Berkeley, Oakland area. Next slide, if you please, Trish. And yeah, I will admit, um, I come from the Dr. Bronner School of Graphic Design. Uh, love to put it all in, make up ads and flyers. But here in the expensive San Francisco Bay Area, the classic co-housing development model, and there are many communities using that, it's out of reach for so many, given the market rate housing prices. So we put our energy, especially into partnerships with groups like community land trusts and transition towns, helping people build neighborhood in place and otherwise promoting innovative approaches to affordability, ecology, diversity, and more. At the upper left, go pictures, that's a Wild and Radish. It's an eco-village creating a food forest and, among other things, permanently affordable tiny homes for elders and really creative approaches together. And then upper middle, Template House. That's a San Francisco group house specifically supporting reentry for folks coming out of prison. They often don't have other housing options available. A lot of folks won't rent to them, but if there's a supportive environment to help them reintegrate, community has that capacity. It's one of the many great initiatives coming from Haight Street Commons, a network of San Francisco group houses that we've worked with on a number of events. On the lower left, that's Golden Gate Co-Housing. It's now a resident managed nonprofit. We helped incubate them to build community, two buildings with apartments. They sometimes rent them by the room. Their focus is on artists, a very diverse population. And they get a big property tax break because they're serving people with lower incomes. And so it's a win-win for affordability. Parker Street Co-op, we just got the okay to add them to the open house weekend and the crawl we'll be doing, I'll say more about on Sunday. They have homes starting at $30,000 close to campus in Berkeley, limited equity housing co-op. They're not a lot of shared space, not a full-fledged common house and all regular meals, but a strong sense of belonging. And so they're in our family of co-housing cousins and connections. And especially excited by the work we've been doing with we can whisper the word tiny home eco village and fill any room in no time at all. But these are one project specifically serving displaced and homeless youth They're designed to be led by the residents. And yes, there's supportive services available, but the idea is they're in charge. It's a co-housing style mix of privacy and community. That's one in Oakland, and we're helping another in nearby Richmond, California. Next slide, if you please. And yeah, just a taste of what's going on. Some of these we're still in the process of adding to the growing list on cohousing.org for the open house weekend. But we're co-sponsoring a regional unconference Saturday, bringing tools for community like the Group Works card deck. You can see pictured there. Uh, the ideas that support living well together and what makes it a community meeting and not just a business meeting. Anyway, it's helping people learn about community. We partner with permaculture activists in the area doing these kind of things. On the upper right, Sunday, we're hosting a co-housing crawl. Excuse me, it's not listed in, not in the picture, but anyway, a self-guided tour of area communities. We had so many RSVPs, we had to add a second shift to avoid overfilling the common house. This is a good problem to have, and I know some groups out there are struggling to fill their open house events, but it helps when you've got the engine going and the meetup and strong enthusiasm. And oh yeah, the picture is Monday evening. We're hosting an uncommon meal, something we've done before. Co-housing seekers come prepare a meal together in a co-housing common house. And this is at Berkeley Co-housing, and get the full experience. We've done this before. Sometimes we leave out an ingredient or disappear for a bit. And they learn a lot about how to manage crisis and solve problems together and say, could I live with these people? Or how do we cope? Or, ooh, I like the food. I know that's helped many a group form, tasting each other's preparations. By the way, does anyone recognize the co-housing movement pioneer in that photo? You can put answers in the chat. Not the best photo, but just realized that happened to include somebody. Anyway, there's lots of cooperation between communities beyond and around the state. Um, For a feature in a Wolf Creek Lodge virtual event Sunday, and there's in-person gatherings in the North Bay, Sacramento, and the foothills. And lastly, we're co-listing. This isn't just National Co-Housing Week for us. It's the start of Affordable Housing Month in the East Bay, and so we're cross-listing some of our events on their calendars, and so getting a lot of interest and very exciting and reaching new people and trying to push the edges of what we do as community. And yeah, and just we've gone from East Bay co-housing to um uh co-housing California and what's this co-housing open? It was mentioned at the Mid-Atlantic co-housing presentation on Monday, and that question came up. Well, a while back, Meetup added the option to build a network of local groups that can work together. We partner with some and helped kept alive some others that were abandoned. And now we can get a virtual event led by any community in front of 13,000 people with a single click. My goal is to make this into an engine, really helping people start and build co-housing networks wherever they are, make it more self-sufficient so that the national organization can take it on. I don't want to do this forever, but I do want to make room for new energy and leadership and welcome others that want to connect. So I know there are some here today. It has been a labor of love. And it's been a self-funded, not-for-profit, with groups contributing a little. Next slide, if you please. We're almost there, and I will ask Betsy to unmute, who can say a few words, and maybe I can add her into the spotlight. My wife, Betsy Morris. Betsy, if you unmute, there you are.
Hi, thank you so much, Rains, and everyone who are putting this whole series together. So I get a few minutes, which I'm happy to have, to give somewhat of my story alongside of Rains. So I was here in Berkeley studying city planning, specifically community development, when I first learned about co-housing and thought it was so cool, and came to visit Berkeley co-housing when it was in the redevelopment stages and thought, well, I can't afford this. And it was an affordable project in the sense that the prices were around the level or less than the Berkeley median home prices. But I was still following education and working grassroots nonprofits and didn't have the money. But amazingly enough, that was in '89. But I was very interested in alternative housing cooperatives, drawn to that. 10 years later, when Rains and I met and decided we wanted to live together, there was only one place that met both our criteria. He wanted to stay in co-housing, and I wanted to live in West Berkeley, which is the neighborhood that Berkeley co-housing is located in. And amazingly, a month later, a friend of mine through folk music and a friend of Rain's as the boyfriend of another member of the club, uh, before I he and I got together. I'm long-winded, but it was an amazing story of serendipity, because someone who lived in Berkeley co-housing sent me an email and said, "Hey, do you think Rains or you would be interested in buying a home here?" And that worked out, and that's been 23 years, and we've been married 20 or almost 20. So my goal here is to just get you interested in uh, not only the possibilities for co-housing, but the larger ecosystem, not just for co-housing, but for that notion of transformational homes where you know your neighbors, where you have do not where you have autonomy and creative energy together. Um, and that is a larger movement that exists here in the US. One aspect of it, I don't think we have it here, but in the previous, so this is the adventure very recently. I've been writing and researching and been on panels about affordability and co-housing since I think around 2006. And then other people started picking up the ball much more directly. And, I haven't been giving those talks, but it's the most popular subject with our East Bay co-housing group because the price of land everywhere, almost everywhere in the US, has gotten too high, you know? And as I now say, housing is too important for them to leave to the market. And I think that may sound radical, but it's just everyday language in the Gray Panther worlds that I work in now. When I became retired, I was given the chance to explore uh, the housing crisis firsthand. I knew people who were living in vehicles and were interested in the idea of co-housing, but just gave up hope because home ownership is beyond the reach of really, I would say, a majority of people in California now, but certainly for people who rent. So what I discovered along the way is that the old solutions that I had been encouraging co-housing interested and people to look into. One is the cooperative housing model with a where the community has to agree they want to be shared equity or limited equity. And that's a big change from the notion of, oh, that's a big change from, kind of the mainstream notions of home ownership, which is I'm going to win the lottery and be able to afford my retirement by selling my home and going who knows where. The other partner is is the Community Land Trust, which works with groups who might want to create here in the Bay Area, in California. That movement is exploding because of the housing crisis, the rental housing crisis. So there is, I discovered last year that co-housing was being included in the European, in as part of a European federation of housing developers. And now which co-housing entity in Europe, it depends. But in Barcelona, the word co-housing was being used parallel to cooperative housing. And this meant that it was in a relationship of support from both nonprofit cooperative groups wanting to create housing cooperatives for themselves and the public sector. That is where I think we could, as a movement, begin to understand for those who are willing to who can we partner with? Who can we bring our model to who will be receptive to it as a form of home ownership that has the culture, the carrying culture of knowing each other and mutual aid. And I believe, here it turns out there's an International Social Housing Festival. The next one, I went to the one in 2023 and kind of saw the lessons. And Rains and I are going to Dublin in 2025. But what's amazing is since 2023, the US in different cities and states are growing not just short-term alliances or coalitions to get funding for affordable housing, which is the history, but funding for long-term strategy of paradigm change, as well as really questioning the bringing forth renters' rights as part of the movement. We don't usually get involved in that in co-housing, except we're trying to maybe get out of exploitation as renters. But I think I would really like to encourage people to be curious as to what's going on as you explore your co-housing options locally and want to create more. Just be curious about this social housing movement. There is a California Social Housing Coalition, and there are uh, efforts, coalitions between renters' rights groups and cooperative development groups and community land trusts and citizens who
Betsy,
believe in this. I will wrap up. And
but
so I
you
just
can
want
put
to,
some links in the chat after
I
that.
will
would
put
be-
some links in the chat. But I just want to encourage people to be curious about who's doing what in your local area, because not only is the West Coast, Portland, I'm sorry, Oregon, Washington, and California booming with this growing awareness and movement. So is DC, so is Maryland. New York City is in the forefront. It's just the term social housing is a big balloon, a big federation, but co-housing, should you wish to take it into this realm of collaboration, we can be there. And that gives us a lot more company to work for and advocates to work with us for the kinds of communities we want to see. Thank you.
Thanks, Betsy.
I'll put some events and dates in the
Excellent.
chat.
And I'll just wrap up my piece by saying, please connect. We've got sites. We even have a phone number that rings through. We've got links, and we'd love to get more people connected on the path to community, wherever it may take. Thanks. Trish, back to you.
Thank you so much, Betsy and Rains. And I trust that there are lots of links in the chat if you're curious about some of that. There was so much good information in there. So, and recall that this will be recorded and all of that. So, if you want to go back and catch some of those great recommendations, please do. I am now going to share a little bit about what's happening in the Rocky Mountain region. So I'm here in Denver, so I'll speak a little bit about Colorado as well as some happenings in Utah and New Mexico. So lots going on here. There is a forming community here on the northwest side of Denver in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. It's called Blue Columbine, and they are nearly shovel ready. The land has been purchased. The city has signed off on all the permits and the building plans, and there's still time to participate in designing the interior units. So they are working on that on May 17th, and they actually invite non-members to observe the design process and get a sneak peek of the units. So learn more about them at, I'm sure there will be a link in the chat. Thank you so much to my helpers. Another big development in Southwest Colorado in Bayfield is around Heartwood Co-housing. So this is a co-housing community that has that was established in the year 2000. It's a close-knit community of 24 homes, and they this spring are breaking ground on phase 2. So they're actually expanding. They already have this amazing community, and they're expanding, adding 14 new single-family detached homes. All of these homes are certified zero energy ready homes. They include passive solar, they're energy efficient, they have healthy indoor air quality. And a few fun facts about Heartwood. It's the largest co-housing community in the world by acreage. They have 360 acres, which includes 65 acres of irrigated pasture land. And it's in an amazing location in Southwest Colorado with over 360 days of sunshine per year. So learn more about Heartwood co-housing. Big news up in northern Colorado in Fort Collins. Polestar Village is a really exciting community. They are weeks away from final approvals and they hope to start their phase 1 development in July. So they already have the land. Their story is really interesting. So this was an intentional community that existed on the Big Island of Hawaii for 16 years. They had a 20-acre organic farm, a retreat, a spiritual community, and the entire thing was devastated by a volcanic eruption. So they spent 3 years searching for the land to set up shop again, and they found it in Fort Collins, Colorado. I've spent time on this land. It is absolutely stunning. Polestar identifies as a school of life, they say, so an intentional community where everyone is honored as a student as well as a teacher. And their daily activities are filled with cooperation and creativity, including yoga, service projects, art, music, science, business, and spiritual pursuits. So definitely check out Polestar if you're interested in that. Then down south, Cohousing ABQ started site construction last year, and they have staggered move-in dates starting in December of this year through May of 26. They have 2 homes remaining out of their 25 homes, a 3-bedroom and a 4-bedroom townhome each. They are especially looking for families with teens and tweens to round out the age distribution. They currently have 13 kids already set to live in this community. They have a Zoom meet and greet on the 4th as well. So check that out. And then excited to share a little bit about Wasatch Commons in Salt Lake City, Utah. Wasatch Commons hosted our CoHUS board retreat this spring, and I can't stop talking about the hospitality that they extended to all of us. They were just so generous. They made us soups. They drove us everywhere. They gave up their homes to board members from across the country. And they are just such a lovely community. And they're excited to share that in 2023, they added some solar panels to the West Side carports. And that has produced 67.1 megawatt hours. I don't know my units, but it's equal to 47.9 tons of CO2 reduction, which equates to charging 5.78 million phones or planting 802 trees. So thanks for living into that sustainability value to Wasatch. So excited to provide those updates about the Rocky Mountain region. There's a ton going on this weekend in this region. Last count, and there actually might be more than this now, there were 12 events in Colorado alone, from Bayfield down in the Southwest, all the way up to Colorado Springs, Boulder, Fort Collins, Denver. So lots going on in Colorado. And several of the Denver communities collaborated so that you can make a day of Denver visits and don't have to choose between them. So I encourage you to do that. And then there's in-person events in Bozeman and Salt Lake City and Albuquerque. So lots happening in this part of the world. And now I want to tell you a story that I'm excited about in Denver, Colorado. So this is a story about Sarah Wells, who's pictured there. She's in the center. She's a CoHUS board member. She is a NASCO Hall of Famer. NASCO is the National Association of Student Cooperatives. She is founder of Queen City Cooperative in Denver. She is frankly just a badass, and we're so excited to have her on our team. Part of her story is that she, along with her partner, bought a mansion in Capitol Hill in Denver, turned it into a co-op, and she lives there now with her partner and her 5-year-old. And she's really changing the game in Denver and beyond to allow more creative, connected, and affordable communities. She actually presented yesterday on co-buying, co-ops, and co-housing. So check out that recording if you missed it. It was fantastic. And I want to tell you about another vision that she has recently brought to life with the People's Mansion. So this is a different mansion in Cap Hill, but with the same vision. So basically, she facilitated the Boulder Housing Coalition to buy this mansion in Capitol Hill. It's the Boulder Housing Coalition's fifth permanently affordable cooperative, but the very first in Denver. So it's a 19-bedroom historic mansion, and they are planning to fill it with low-income residents who make valuable contributions to the Denver community. They're hoping that move-in dates could even be starting in May, and all residents will share meals, buy food in bulk, and meet weekly to practice consensus decision-making and restorative conversations. So I'm so excited about this because this is the future of co-housing. It is inclusive, it's attainable, it's affordable, it's diverse, and it's a promising solution to both the crises of loneliness and housing access. So I'm really excited to share that little story for you. And now I get to stop talking and turn it over to our storytellers. And actually, I'm gonna do a little something. We're gonna warm the room a little bit, get you all connecting, because this is an event all about connection and sharing about one another. So we're gonna do a really quick speed friending exercise. I'm gonna put you in little pairs. I just want you to share, in the spirit of spring, what is something that is blooming in your life right now? That can be anything. So again, random breakout groups here. Give me a moment. All right, so that should be about 2 people per group. Just a couple of minutes and then I'll bring you back and we'll hear from our storytellers. Folks who are still here, let me know if you need any help. Welcome back. A few of you. There we go. Anyhow, it always takes different amounts of time for people to come back from breakout rooms. I wonder where people go. Still missing a lot of people in the cloud. There we go. All right. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that was a fun opportunity to connect with someone else, and feel free to use the chat to exchange contact information or finish up conversations. So this is a storytelling event. We're going to start with some stories. So we have handpicked a few storytellers to share stories of their life and community. So we'll hear from a few of them, and then we'll hope to have some interactive time. So a time for you all to share stories of community with one another, if you like. So I'm excited about this first storyteller. He is my partner. So this is Adam Becker-Hafner. He's going to tell a story about becoming a dad in community. So he's going to explore the ways that becoming a parent in co-housing, ARIA co-housing in Denver, shaped the way he and his partner, shaped he and his partner and gave their daughter a vibrant start to life. So I am going to turn it over to Adam.
Hi, everyone. When my wife and I found out we were having a baby, we were living in a single family house in the suburbs. We had been in that big house for 2 years, and we never once stepped foot in a neighbor's house. And as we got ready to step through this portal into parenthood, we were sorely under-resourced in the community realm. We had no tribe. We knew we needed to pull people closer together, closer to us in order to become the parents we wanted to be, but we didn't know where to start in building that tribe. Within a few weeks of finding out we'd be parents, we were walking around the construction site of Denver's newest co-housing community, ARIA Co-housing. And this forming group had been working on the project for more than 5 years, but we were so grateful to learn that they still had an available unit. We knew that this forming community was the solution to the void that we had been feeling in the suburbs. We moved into our unit less than a month before our daughter Cadence was born, and I can't tell you how grateful we were to bring our little girl home from the hospital into the warmth and security of ARIA co-housing. I'm not going to lie, we did have to put up a do not disturb sign on our door for the first week while we soaked up those first precious days with our girl. But slowly we began to come out of our cave and into this thriving, dynamic, colorful world of co-housing. It felt a bit like being born ourselves. Not only had we become new parents, but we were having our first go at community life. Common meals, community meetings, sitting with the growing pains of this newly formed group of neighbors. It was beautiful. It was messy, but with Cadence and our community, it was starting to feel like home. Within a few months of becoming parents, we had a devastating scare with our daughter. She was 3 months old, and she'd been battling a scary lung infection. We ended up spending a week at Children's Hospital. After what seemed like an eternity of hospital life, we returned home to ARIA completely wrecked. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. We walked into our house and we had this feeling of dread as it dawned on us that the food in our fridge was spoiled and one of us was going to have to get up the energy to go to the store. As we opened the refrigerator to assess the damage and make a list, we were blown away to find out that one of our neighbors had let themselves in and filled our fridge with food. To this day, we don't know who did it, and that is the power of community, lifting people up when they need it most, often from this selfless place. That's what sticks with me most about this little story is the person or people that filled our fridge didn't need to be thanked. They didn't leave a note. They lifted us up in a time of need, and they knew that the circular nature of community would come back to them. I saw this same selfless energy emerge when our neighbor was hit by a car on her bicycle. A group of co-housers formed around our neighbor to make meals, do wellness checks, take her to the doctor, and nobody was standing up to claim credit for these acts of love. No committee was being formed. It was just an organic, natural network of support that grew around our fellow co-housers' need. If I had to share all the ways that Aria supported us as parents in those early years, we'd be here all day. But the last piece I'll leave you with is to talk about the beautiful patchwork of childcare that emerged among the co-housers. Anyone who has had to pay for childcare knows what a financial burden it is on young parents. And we had an incredibly generous set of aunties at Aria who stepped up to become our childcare plan. With the help of our community, we had childcare that we could rely on. Mondays with Pappy, Wednesdays with Barbara, Fridays with Susan. And during this time, we had several other friends out in Normie Land who had just had their recently had their first child, and they were speechless when we shared with them that our child care plan included community care for Cadence 3 days a week. We left Aria Co-Housing when Cadence was 2 to start our own community that we're calling Chase Street Commons. But what I will always carry with me about those first 2 years was this: it does take a village to raise a child. And yes, the co-housing village is real. It's not always neat. It's not always efficient. It can leave you feeling tired at times. But what co-housing takes from you in energy outputs is replenished above and beyond what you ever put in. I don't use this word lightly, but there is a magic in the math. Because how is it possible that everyone can contribute to the commons, but everyone can leave feeling like they received more than they gave? I don't know how that's possible, but as a young parent in co-housing, I felt that magic, and I know Cadence did too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam. I invite you all to, it's always so Zoom, we don't have the applause, so show Adam your love with your face, your fingers, the chat, however you can do it. Thank you so much. Obviously, I'm moved by that story. I really appreciate you taking the time, Adam. I hope you soak in the love on the chat. Well, I'm excited to introduce our next storyteller, Deb Goldberg-Gray, who is one of our newest board members. And Deb's going to share a story about the turning of the seasons and generations at Berkeley Cohousing. So she says, in the 30 years I've lived at Berkeley Cohousing, I've accompanied my neighbors through births and deaths, marriages, and coming of age celebration. Lots of joy and some hard times, not to mention getting 30 years older together. So thank you, Deb, for being with us.
Thank you, Trish. Wow, I have to get over being so moved by what Adam just said. I'm coming to this from the other end of the parenting trajectory from where Adam started with this story from Berkeley Cohousing. Berkeley Cohousing is a stable 14 household community tucked into 3/4 of an acre in central Berkeley. Maybe too stable because we've missed a whole generation of children as our original crop of kids has grown into adulthood. Our youngest 2 are heading off for college in the fall. Half of us have lived on site from the very start, and the other half, still known as the new people, hi Betsy and Rains, have been community members for an average of 19 years each. We are not people who leave. When I arrived 30 years ago, I was at a tender moment in my early 30s, coming out of a failed relationship and bringing my heartache and also my determination to start a family as a single mom living in community. My first and only home purchase ever was a 1-bedroom co-housing cottage nestled in our rear courtyard with a California redwood tree towering over it. I could just barely touch my fingers around the redwood trunk. 9 months after moving in, I remember running past our co-housing construction crew on my way to our parking lot and the drive to the hospital for the birth of my first child in 1997. Both construction and my baby were supposed to be fully cooked in March 1997. Mother Nature came through. Construction didn't wrap up until June. When I arrived home from the hospital, I found a bouquet of wildflowers to welcome me from a neighbor who's exactly 20 years older than I am. She was the single mom to our eldest co-housing child, who was 12 when we started construction in 1995 and now has 2 daughters of her own. Through my early days of parenthood, I didn't feel like a single mom, with all the experienced parents and grandparents just outside my door, eager to get their hands on our first co-housing baby. My daughter was born at home in 2001, the second co-housing baby and the first of a community baby boom. 2 more births followed that year, and we shared midwives, diaper service, and daycare. And in between all those births, our first community death, too young, from cervical cancer. She died at home just after my daughter was born at home. She held the new baby shortly before she passed and told us it meant the world to her. Our community was brought closer by so much joy and so much sorrow. The redwood tree grew taller and broader. It soon took 2 people to reach around the trunk. An arborist explained that the tree was thriving because it extended its roots under the courtyard lawn where it drank from the community irrigation system. Not the intended recipient of our precious California water, but still a beloved community member, exuberant in its redwood ways. The kids grew and played together and tortured each other and ran from house to house as children do. 3 more babies were born into our community shortly after. The little ones grew and our older kids headed out on their own. As my kids grew, the little cottage behind the big redwood tree started to feel small. I added a 2nd floor in 2009 and stayed with co-housing neighbors while the house was rebuilt. That was the year we lost another neighbor to cancer, another sad death, another too young. We sat with him before he passed and also after. Our co-housing kids learned what it is to die and that it was something that could happen at home with love all around. Like so many, I'm lucky to have good neighbors and also good friends. Neighbors are different from friends, being so close and ready to lend a hand or a couple of eggs. They are also stubborn relationships that don't go away easily. So differences need to be resolved without the distance that friends can take during hard times. We know each other deeply, the kind of deeply that only comes with time. Like the kids, we love and torture and annoy each other and forgive and grieve and laugh and sing and eat and work. We've learned with the turning of the years that not everyone can contribute equally over time, and we've learned not to sweat the small stuff. Now, with so many neighbors sticking around for 30 years and so little turnover, we're not a young community. I recently moved 2 doors down to a smaller co-housing unit whose owner, the same one who left me flowers when my son was born, moved to assisted living. The house where I raised my kids is once again home to a young family now that I don't need all those rooms. By the time the redwood tree in front of my house took 3 people to circle the trunk, its roots started tipping up the foundation of the house. After searching long and hard for alternatives, the community agreed to have our arborists come remove the tree. We felt the loss and also the passing of time as we gathered to say goodbye to our exuberant conifer. A tiny new maple tree is now growing green in its place, promising to accompany us through the turning of many more seasons and years and decades. Thank you.
I don't know about anyone else, but I had goosebumps for the entire time. So thank you so much. That was beautiful. The metaphor of the redwood, and I just, it was really moving. Thank you. I hope you take a moment to receive some love from faces, show it in all the ways that you can. Appreciate you, Deb. Okay, our next storyteller is a friend of mine who has led Cohousing in our initiatives over the past several years for our Coalition for Racially Diverse Co-Housing. He's a well, he's a consultant and so many other things. Every time I talk to Pedro, I learn something new about him. He'll drop a language that I didn't know he spoke, or a time when he lived abroad doing a really interesting thing. So I'm excited for you all to hear from him. Pedro's going to tell a story about coming home to his former community, Mosaic Co-Housing, at 6:30 a.m. with no notice, and how his friends were there for him to let him into the common house to catch some sleep before going to the funeral of another friend. So I will turn it over to you, Pedro.
Thank you. First and foremost, I want to just honor the other stories we've heard so far. And then I want to invite you all to consider, because sometimes when you see people standing up and saying words, you feel like, oh, maybe I couldn't do that, or oh, I wouldn't be able to tell a story like that. And I want to suggest to you that all of us are storytellers, and that storytelling is a superpower. And that when we understand that storytelling is a superpower, and we take kind of what I'm going to call like a responsibility for our capacity to tell stories, we realize that we also are shaping worlds with the stories that we tell. And that when we share our stories with each other, we become greater parts of each other's story. The stories that I've heard today are now part of me, and the story that I share with you will also be a part of you. And so I want to just kind of lift that up and bring that to our conscious awareness as we're continuing to listen to stories from one another. Then I also want to invite you to put in the chat why you choose to be in community. Why do you want to be in community? Especially in a world where if we have DoorDash and Amazon and some resources, many of us never have to leave our homes. So why in this modern world do you still want to be a part of community? And so I invite you to put that some of that in the chat, and then I'll start to tell my story. So it starts about 2010, and we were starting to look for a school for my daughter, a preschool. And the school that we chose to go to was in this little church down the hill from Mosaic Commons in Berlin, Massachusetts. And some people said, hey, a lot of kids from that commune go to that school, and they called it a commune. And I was like, what? And it's like, yeah, there's like some commune up in the mountains, like some like weird commune, and a lot of those kids go to that school. You sure you want to put your kid in there? And we kind of said, yeah, it was affordable, so we put our kid in there. And very quickly after, we got invited to a common meal, and we got invited again, and we got invited again. And then finally, one day we said, you know what the heck? Let's just go up to the commune, see if they try to get us to join their religion, and then and we'll be good to go. We'll just kind of we'll just take it as an experience. And so when we went up there, it turned out to not be a religious commune, but co-housing. And we had a great time just talking to adults, because it was just us and our 3-year-old just running around the house for all this time, and we had no community. We were in an isolated little house in the woods, and all of a sudden we were talking with adults. Kids were running around being safe, and we very quickly said, man, I wish we could live here. And not too long after that, one of the co-housers took it upon himself to ask another co-houser who had purchased a home but hadn't been living there. It had been empty for over a year and something, because the person purchased it for their retirement, but they weren't retiring. They were living in a completely different state. And the person reached out and said, hey, since no one's there, why don't you rent this place to our friends? So we rented it, we moved in there, we started to build these friendships, we started to build this community, we started to get to know people, and it just kind of built a relationship. And what you discover about deep friendships And I know that all of you've experienced this. I mean, you wouldn't be in your communities as long as you have, or you wouldn't be trying to create communities if you didn't know that there's just something about friendship that invites you into more of yourself if you're fully present. One of my friends named that by saying that we listen ourselves into being, or we listen other people into being. And so when you have a friend who listens to you, or a person who sees you at your best and at your worst, and all those things, you are more grounded and present in the world because someone said yes to who you are and who you're becoming. And so we found that in our co-housing community. And it was something that we hoped that would endure for the rest of our lives together. Unfortunately, the person who rented the home wanted to move back into the neighborhood, and then we tried to purchase another home, and that's a whole other story, where that didn't work out, and we ended up having to move, and it broke our heart. However, whenever we came back to Massachusetts, because we left the whole state, we moved to Colorado, we found that that same group of people was always ready to receive us at a moment's notice. If we popped up in the community unannounced, people would start pouring out of their houses. It's you guys, hey, it's you, we love you. They would call. Some of them came out to visit us in Colorado and hung out with us. And it really just showed us that this group of people who helped listen us into being was always still rooted into our relationship, no matter where we were, across time, across space. We were still together, even though we weren't in the same place. We were still in the same community. And that became really pronounced when one of my friends died. This friend, she was young, she got cancer, and she was one of three couples that used to hang out, my wife and I, she and her husband, and another couple. We even did a marriage class together. And when she died, that was the first person in our group, our age, that had passed, and she lived right outside of the community. And I decided I had to go to this memorial service. Only one of us could go. I decided I was going to go. I was going to come in early in the morning, and I said, okay, I don't want to disturb anybody. I'm not going to be able to hang out with anybody. And my wife was like, yeah, don't bother calling people because they'll want to hang out with you, and you're not going to have time. You should just go to the YMCA and take a shower after you land, and then go to the funeral. And then I was just going to hop on a plane and come back. But as I was starting to drive, I started feeling tired, and I was like, I'm too exhausted. I took this night flight. I don't think I can make it to the Y. And so at 6:30 in the morning, I said, I'm going to take a chance. And I just text one of the people and said, are you up? And then they just said, yeah, what's going on? And then I told them, and they said, I'll get the room in the common house ready for you. And about 15 or 20 minutes later, they were there. They made the bed. They had stuff waiting for me. They said, you want some tea? It was just like I had walked home. And it just meant so much in that really tender and vulnerable time. And it meant nothing to them to get up in the morning that early. And what was crazy is the person that who answered, who I normally probably wouldn't even have called, she said, it's so strange that you text me because I normally keep my phone out of my room at night. But for some reason, I had my phone in my room last night. And for some reason, I woke up, as soon as I picked up the phone, your text came through. And that's serendipity. And it was just so much of what I needed in that moment. And I wished for everyone in the world that they could have that kind of relationship, that kind of time transcendent relationship where you can just show up anytime and you're always home. And so every time I go back, I take my younger daughter now. She wishes that she lived there. But most importantly, it reminds me that we have the capacity to create worlds when we share stories like this, when we create community intentionally, and when we remember that we're not here alone, and it's all of our work to listen to each other into being. So that's my story.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Show some love. Thank you also for sharing your story, but for inviting us all to reflect and see ourselves as storytellers. I think that you have a beautiful power to do that in groups. You inspire us, and you help us to go on these reflective journeys. So thank you for all the ways that you do that for our community. I'm grateful for
For
you.
inviting me. And
Yeah.
if it's okay, I'm gonna put in the chat. I'm actually doing something about it's free and it's about storytelling as a superpower. So I'm just
Please.
gonna put in the chat. People can register if they want to.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Wonderful. I'm excited to introduce our final storyteller coming at us from Mexico. So Catherine Stevenson is going to share the story of why she and her husband decided to reinvent their lives and move to Mexico to help start Mexico's first co-housing community, Rancho La Salud Village in Ajijic, Mexico. I practiced that pronunciation. I hope that it's right. Take it away, Catherine.
Yes. Ajijic actually is a Nahuatl Indian word, now spelled with a J instead of an X, but it is an ancient word. And we are living on the shores of Mexico's largest lake. It's called Lake Chapala. We're about an hour south of Mexico's second largest city, Guadalajara. And we're living in an area on the north shore of the lake that has been a mixture of expat and very Mexican culture for a number of years. So for us to make a decision to come here wasn't because we were fluent Spanish speakers and had roots already through our family lineage in the Mexican culture. We came here initially because we wanted sunshine. Having lived most of our lives in Oregon, mostly in Portland, when we were in our mid-60s, early 60s, we're looking at our retirement, and we did not want to grow old on the wonderful street we had lived on for many, many years, had a wonderful circle of friends, both of us self-employed artists, and we're ready, though, for a lifestyle change. And Mexico called to us, where, quite frankly, nowhere else in the United States did. This is back in 2010, 2012, when we started to seriously explore this area. And in 2012, we came here for a 2-month visit to really check out this area. And there's some lovely places here. But what we realized is we did not want to live alone as we grew older. And it crossed our path within a day of coming here for a 2-month visit about a Rancho La Salud Village co-housing starting to form, just starting to form. And here it was done differently because it is not known in the Mexican culture about co-housing as a lifestyle. This project was started by a couple, a Mexican couple who already owned the land, 3.5 acres, and who had met a wonderful gentleman who had been involved in Harmony Village co-housing in Golden, Colorado for many, many years. He was his career was in sustainable solar architecture, and he partnered with this couple, Jaime and Sarah, to start to develop the ideas and the designs, specific housing designs around sustainability, and taking advantage of the sun down here and lots of the water sources, et cetera, and had already designed a wonderful sustainable community. We met them within 3 days of coming down in 2012. And we pretty much immediately knew that this is the place for us because it fulfilled so many of the visions of what we had for our future. And so that started the process for us. And 2.5 years later, it took us that long to extricate ourselves from our lives up in Portland, include not only selling our lovely craftsman home, but also my business, closing my custom couture dressmaking business, my husband closing his art studio, selling 85% of what we owned, managing to fit what we were bringing down into a 8 foot by 8 foot by 12 foot container truck. Everything else we left behind, we sold, we gave to friends, and our daughter inherited her ancestral china and silverware and all that good stuff early. And we said goodbye to our wonderful friends in Portland and quite happily made the decision to have another whole phase to our lives, another adventure, as I said. And that's what brought us to Rancho La Salud village in Ajijic, Mexico. And so we've been actually living in our house that we were able to influence the design of. The designs were a choice that we had, and then we were able to add square footage and design details and take advantage of the wonderful custom craftsmanship that's available down here at very affordable prices. And a year later moved into our house. And so we were the first residents, besides Jaime and Sarah, who were living here on this 3.5 acres. And we, I would like to say, have been an incubation, certainly in those beginning years and through the whole COVID slowdown, where pretty much nothing happened for 2 to 3 years. And but we did increase our membership slowly but surely. We currently have 9 constructed homes, all in the traditional Mexican style. And we have a 3,000 square foot common house that Jaime and Sarah built and lived in, and is slowly being turned over to the community. And we have had a wonderful experience of growing slowly but surely this community down here. And so far, all of our residents are American expats. My husband's English, but we still say he's American. And we also have a Mexican husband of an American expat. Both of them are Americans, but he grew up here in Mexico. And we are outreaching to the Mexican community, as well as making more headroads now into the United States. And I know, given the different climates culturally and politically that is happening now, we have lots of inquiries from people who are considering the thought that it is possible to expand your search for the perfect environment, the perfect home, the perfect community, especially if you're looking for a supportive co-housing community that you think about coming over the border. Mexico makes it very accommodating, I guess is the word I will use, possible to live here as an expat with a visa that's not going to be taken away from you. The culture is very warm and allowing and accepting of people from Canada, from Europe, from Asia, and certainly from America that live not only here, but throughout Mexico. Those borders are being torn down, so to speak, as well as being built up, but the availability, the ease of access, the lifestyle where you are still connected to your friends and your family up in the States is still very possible. It's wonderful living here. And I haven't even begun to describe what our community personally is about. So much of what everybody has talked about is the experiences that we have here. And it's a wonderful environment, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to at least talk about um, thinking outside the box, so to speak. So
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Catherine. And thank you for showcasing your beautiful space. It's so vibrant and warm, and I feel like I'm there. So
our living room.
pictures worth 1,000 words as well. Thank you so much. Send Catherine your love, and Catherine, if you're willing, share any contact information or ways that people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, how would I do that?
Yeah, just in the chat.
Okay.
If you can.
All right.
Even if it's just a website, that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks for representing an international co-housing community. So in the spirit of Pedro's words that we are all storytellers, I'd like to do a quick activity to just give you all a chance to share moments of life and community. So we'll do small groups. Some of you may not be interested in sharing, so I'll do groups of 3. That way you can opt out if you want. But if you feel called to share, I offer you to do that in a small setting. And I invite you to share a moment that maybe you have like this. Someone in the chat mentioned that these all seem like fairy tales. And the fact of the matter is they're so real and they're so prevalent in community, stories just like this. So perhaps if you've lived in community, you can call upon a moment that really illustrates what it's all about. If you don't live in community, maybe you have a story that illustrated why you need it so badly. A time that was really challenging and you felt like you too were looking for a village to support you. So we'll make it quick. It'll be 5 or 6 minutes. So just a quick little sharing in these groups, and they will be different than last time. So that should do us. Okay, great. We'll see y'all back in a few minutes. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome back. Thanks everyone for taking a moment to share something about yourself with perhaps someone who you don't know. It seems fitting that we conclude our week of events in this way. So I thank you for being vulnerable, and big, big, big gratitude to our storytellers today. You really, really set the stage. And I thank you for touching our hearts in that way. So I will end with a very brief story in the spirit of storytelling. So this is a story about when I was living in ARIA co-housing in 2019. A fellow resident and I wanted to go to the National Co-housing Conference in Portland. And we were both young professionals. I was a young parent. We really wanted to go and we couldn't afford it. And so we were talking about it in a community meeting and just sort of expressing an interest. And by the time I went to bed that evening, I had a stack of checks that had been slipped under my door with people volunteering to contribute for she and I to go to the conference. Another member offered all of her miles to fly us both out to Portland and back. And so we were able to go to the national conference in Portland, and it was a transformative experience. I'm sure many of you have been to national conferences and you probably remember your first one. But it was really powerful to see what a huge movement there is beyond just our co-housing community. And this was really the first interaction that I had ever had with Cohu US. So it was really the beginning of the journey that I took to becoming the executive director. So when we returned from the conference was just incredible. I learned so much. I connected with so many people. I just saw the power of what we're trying to do here on this national scale. And we came back and we hosted a sort of a Denver area gathering. So we invited folks from all of the Denver area communities to come. And we wanted to just kind of download everything that we learned. We watched the recording of Courtney Martin's keynote, which is available. And if you haven't seen it, please take some time. Those of you who are there know that it was one for the history books. We watched it together. We shared what we learned. We ideated together. And it was this group of, there were probably 4 or 5 communities represented. And one of the main pieces of Courtney Martin's keynote was she challenged us to look beyond the blackberry bushes that, serve as the boundaries of our co-housing communities. And how can we extend this love of community to the Big C community outside of the co-housing community? And that's what we talked about. We talked about ways to engage the neighborhoods that surround us and how to take that civic engagement magic that we know exists within co-housing and use that for greater good. So the reason I share that is because at the time, I wasn't really aware that there was an organization doing the education, advocacy, and convening around co-housing. So that was new for me. I sort of thought that it just happened. And in some ways it does. This is truly a grassroots movement. And we rely on the activation of this wide network of communitarians to educate, to connect, to offer their expertise, to inspire us. And Cohu US is the backbone of this work. Again, we have a very small staff and a huge mission. Our mission is to create a more connected, sustainable, and democratic future through co-housing and community-rooted housing. And so I just once again share that we can only do this with your support. So if you're interested in supporting us in any way, use that QR code or this link in the chat. And I thank you all so much for being here. Happy National Co-housing Week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend at open house events, and we'll see some of you at the after party on Sunday. Have a great rest of your evening. Thanks, everyone.